what about like weight training? Like, is there any like universal there? I think for me, it's like the universal is like, you should be weight training. Like
You should be.
everybody should be weight training, but like, is there a universal dose of weight training?
Yeah, because you should be. Oh man, it's like finding your markers. I would say, now you got me thinking about these universal rules. I would say
There aren't
finding,
any.
yeah, it would have to come down to like each individual lift, making sure your form is sharp and coming within 2 to 3 reps of failure. That'd be like the first thing I could think of as far as a universal truth. But again, what's your training style? What are you actually aiming for? I guess I could probably knock that one out. But I think most people, like, let's just take a squat, for example. You need to figure out what you can go for 10 reps on with safe form, and then figure out what your weight could be that pushes you within 2 reps of failure. Because I find a lot of people lift with this 5 and 10 reps left over as far as their energy or strength, and they're not pushing themselves. But again, that's not even like a universal truth, because if you're 93 and you're just getting started, maybe you need to go with really lightweight and light reps, or like high reps, lightweight.
Well, see, I think there's a lot of things to say about what you just said there. But one of the things is I find it so variable, because some people, like, particular for stuff like the squat, most of the time, if someone comes to me and starts asking me for programming on that type of thing, oftentimes I see, like, in some instances, you're right, like people just aren't training hard enough. But I see like way too often that people are just like, they're not, they're doing like 3 reps, and then 4 reps, it's like the squat gets a little higher, and then rep 5, it gets higher, and then rep 6. And by the time they get to rep 10, it's like, you did 10 reps and your effort level was not that high, and your range of motion got progressively worse on each rep. So it's like, for that person, which is actually an astoundingly common example, they need like a quite a different and actually probably more complex answer than someone who's like, you're just not trying hard enough, or you're just not pushing hard enough. You got to put a little more weight on the bar, kid.
Yep. No, I could agree with that.
Yeah.
And then that's where you almost have to do an individual assessment. And then maybe you would knock off 40 pounds in the squat and have them focus on tempo, or just that range of motion the entire time, and figure out what can they keep as far as weight and that deep range of motion. And it may be a lot lighter.
I'd be like, it's time to put you on starting strength.
There you go.
I actually have it right here.
Nice.
I literally have the book right here.
I've got it. I've got it on this laptop. I think like a black and white copy, like on this huge PDF.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But I think a universal for strength training should be like, you should lift weights a minimum of 2 times a week. I think that would be a good universal. But then even then, like, I like Dr. Spencer Nadolski. He's like, hey, if you go from working out 0 times a week to working out once a week consistently, even that is like a big jump or a big benefit. So it's like, I think here's something else I heard. I believe this was from Barbell Medicine. They go, how much should you be working out? It's like, probably more than you currently are. I like that answer. That's the good answer.
That's a solid way to look at it. Because too, like, you don't want to baby someone so much that you say, hey, every week is going to be different, and you're going to have to pace it. Yes, that's true. But if every week is different and you're pacing yourself slower than you should be for the last 5 years, like, there's a point where you got to be truthful with yourself too, and know that maybe you just need to make more sacrifices. And like you just said, be more active than you currently are.
Do you think it's like a question of intensity though? Because I think it's a question of consistency. Because if I look at it like this, is if I had a client that was just consistent going to the gym every week, and even if they only added 1 pound to their bench press every week, by the end of the year, that's 50 fucking pounds on your bench press. That's more than most people are going to add to their bench press in a year. So like, I don't really think I've ever had an issue with clients who are consistent, that they're not progressing fast enough. The problem is with people who are inconsistent, who are trying to progress too fast to where their technique doesn't stay good enough, or where they're just not working out. Like, it's like, okay, you missed 3 weeks, but now you're expecting to squat the same amount, or you're expected to just like jump. Sometimes they don't even expect to, like, okay, you had 3 weeks of programming that build on top of each week. They expect to jump right to week 4, from week 1 to week 4. It's like you were squatting like 120 week 1, you're squatting 150 week 4, and you missed 3 weeks of training. That's a horrible idea, to just jump right to the 150. It just like, I find that being a much more common problem, just personally from working with people, than people who are not, especially like once I get them in an actual program they're being consistent with. I found that to be a much larger problem than people who just aren't progressing fast enough. Does that make sense?
No, I agree. That consistent person, I almost think of them as like a silent warrior. They're just kind of grinding out, maybe doing 3 workouts a week, and you don't hear much from them. But man, if you can be consistent, 3 workouts a week for the next 6 months, you're going to make so much more progress than the person that you think is an athlete that's going in for 1 month, very, very consistent, and then they disappear because of work trips or beach trips, whatever it may be. I'd rather have you be consistent for 6 months than give it everything you've got for 30 days. 100%.
How about you? Like, do you program as many as possible rep sets often?
Like literally like AMRAP type stuff, like maxing out.
Yeah. So, well, what I'll do, like what you said, if you want to try your 10 rep max, but often because I will often, I found this, I got this from Kaizen training, which is like, was back in the day. I don't know if you remember Bart Kwan and Omar Isuf and what was that guy's name? Mike something. And some other guys. But essentially it was like do an AMRAP set, but do it at the end of like your strength training set. So for example, if I got like 3x5 on squats, then do a 4th set, but on that set, go for as many as possible. Right.
So for clients, I don't usually program that unless I still have some in-person clients. If I'm right there beside them, I do, because I can help them kind of pace what that weight should be and keep them pushing themselves safely. But usually whenever it's offhands online clients, I can't remember the last time, if ever, I've given somebody a set like that.
I do AMRAPs all the time. Well, not all the time, but I do them like, I might like end a training phase with like an AMRAP because I'm like, I want to see how much you can do this for to really like push yourself, like even maybe not to failure, but maybe to like an RPE like 9.5, where like the next rep would be failure.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really good idea, especially just in you saying that. Like I can identify 2 or 3 people that are kind of more competitive that are my clients that would probably benefit from that. That's a good idea.
I saw Alan Thrall do a video on this this was an old video of his, but he was talking about how he's like, I would do like 3x5 on deadlifts, and then the last set I would do an AMRAP, and sometimes I would take those sets like very seriously, where I would legitimately like hit something for like 20 reps. I would hit like something, and then it would help me realize that like, and I find that this is very like mentally stimulating to the clients, is that like, hey, if I can deadlift this with weight that I was doing for 5s, if I actually really push myself really hard at the end of my workout, I can actually hit like 20 reps on it. I can be lifting heavier. Like it just pushes their confidence forward to let them know that, hey, I can be putting more weight on the bar, and that's okay. And I usually tell people that, I'm like, if you can if we're doing like strength work, like 5x5 or whatever, or 3x5, and you can, and I have you doing as many as possible, like an AMRAP, and you get like over 10 reps, we can definitely add weight to the bar. Like no problem. If you're getting 10 reps on your last set after you've already done your volume work, like we can add weight. And I just find that helps build people's confidence for those people who are not maybe ready to, or feel like they're confident enough to push harder.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I mean, I kind of done that for myself, like with bench press. Like every once in a while, I'll just go back to like a 135 and just see like, am I in a 20 rep range, a 30 rep range, or beyond? But it also, it does, it kind of lets me know like, hey, you can flip that switch. Like you know that your higher weights, you could be getting 8 to 10 reps, whenever you throw on more plates or whatever it may be. No, I think that's a great idea.